Your internal voice is your most influential advisor. Whether you train it or not, it's the one voice you never escape. It's there when you wake up, when you fail, when no one is watching, and when things get hard. And the truth is, most people let that voice run wild. It speaks in doubt, excuses, fear, and self-criticism. Not because that's who they are, but because they never took control of it. For just 3 days, I'm asking you to change how you talk to yourself. Not forever, not some unrealistic promise, just 3 days. Because 3 days done intentionally can interrupt patterns you've been repeating for years. Most people think transformation requires motivation. It doesn't. It requires direction. And direction starts with language. The way you speak to yourself quietly determines how you show up publicly. If your inner voice is chaotic, your actions will be inconsistent. If your inner voice is disciplined, your life starts to organize itself. Strong self-talk isn't emotional hype. It's not fake positivity or pretending everything is fine. It's practical. It sounds like clarity. It sounds like responsibility. It sounds like this is hard, but I do hard things. It sounds like I don't feel ready, but I act anyway. It's grounded. It's firm. It doesn't beg for comfort. It demands standards. For the next 3 days, stop speaking to yourself like a victim of circumstances and start speaking like a leader under pressure. Leaders don't whine internally. They don't negotiate with weakness. They don't say, I can't. They say, figure it out. When something goes wrong, they don't ask, why me? They ask, what's the move now? The way you talk to yourself sets the standard for what you tolerate. Language creates standards. Standards create behavior. Behavior creates outcomes. If you tell yourself, I'll try, you've already given yourself an exit. If you tell yourself, this is what I do now, you create alignment. No drama, no excuses, just execution. For 3 days, your self-talk should sound like this. I do what I said I would do. I don't need motivation to act. Discomfort is the price of growth, and I pay it. Not because it feels good, but because it builds respect. And self-respect is the foundation of confidence. Confidence isn't a personality trait, it's evidence, and your self-talk determines what evidence you collect. If you talk like someone who avoids effort, you'll collect proof that you can't be trusted. If you talk like someone who follows through, you'll collect wins, even small ones. And those small wins stack faster than motivation ever will. For 3 days, when your mind tries to pull you back into old patterns, interrupt it. Replace vague, weak language with clear, direct commands. Not abusive, not emotional, just firm. Like someone who expects more from you because they know what you're capable of. 3 days of speaking with discipline can change how you see yourself. And when you change how you see yourself, your decisions change, your habits change, your standards rise, not overnight, but noticeably. So don't wait for confidence to show up. Don't wait to feel ready for the next 3 days. Talk to yourself like the person you're becoming, not the person you're trying to escape, because the fastest way to change your life isn't changing everything around you. It's changing the voice you listen to the most. Your internal voice is your most influential advisor, whether you train it or not. It's the only voice that never leaves you, the one that speaks before you take action and immediately after you fail or succeed. Long before the world gives you feedback, your own mind has already judged the situation and decided what it means. And that judgment quietly shapes what you attempt, what you avoid, and how long you persist when things get uncomfortable. If you don't train that voice, it doesn't stay neutral. It defaults to fear, past experiences, and emotional shortcuts. It repeats old stories, magnifies mistakes, and looks for reasons to stay safe instead of reasons to move forward. Not because you're weak, but because an untrained mind is designed to conserve energy, not build greatness. It will always choose comfort unless you teach it to choose growth. But when you intentionally train your internal voice, it becomes an asset instead of a liability. It stops reacting and starts directing. It doesn't ask how you feel. It reminds you of who you are and what you committed to. It speaks with clarity when emotions are loud. It keeps you grounded when things go well and steady when things go wrong. That's when your mind stops being a critic and starts becoming a coach. Every high-performing person you admire has done this work, whether they realized it or not. They learn to listen selectively. They learn to challenge weak thoughts instead of obeying them, because the quality of your life will never consistently exceed the quality of the conversations you have with yourself. Train that voice and it will guide you forward. Ignore it and it will quietly hold you back. 3 days of intentional self-talk can interrupt years of bad mental habits because patterns don't break when you wait for a big moment. They break when awareness shows up. Most negative mental habits survive not because they're powerful, but because they're automatic. They run in the background, unchecked, unchallenged, repeated so often they start to feel like truth. And the moment you become intentional, even briefly, that automatic loop gets disrupted. For 3 days, you're not trying to erase the past or fix everything. You're simply creating friction against old thinking. Every time a limiting thought shows up and you consciously replace it with a stronger one, you weaken the old pattern and reinforce a new one. The brain responds fast to clarity. It doesn't need years to notice a shift. It needs consistency, even in small windows. Those 3 days create proof that you're not controlled by every thought you have, proof that you can pause, redirect, and choose a better internal response. That alone starts changing your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone stuck with a negative mindset and start seeing yourself as someone who can lead their own thinking. Bad mental habits lose power when they're exposed. Intentional self-talk shines a light on them, and once you see them clearly, they no longer run your life in silence. 3 days won't make you perfect, but they can break the spell. And once that spell is broken, going back to unconscious thinking becomes harder than moving forward with discipline. Strong self-talk is practical, not emotional. It's not about hyping yourself up, chasing a feeling, or pretending things are easier than they are. It's about giving yourself clear, usable instructions in moments where emotion would normally take control. Emotional self-talk asks, "How do I feel right now?" Practical self-talk asks, "What needs to be done next?" One keeps you stuck in reaction, the other moves you forward. When pressure hits, emotions get loud and clarity gets quiet. That's exactly when strong self-talk matters most. It cuts through the noise and brings you back to facts, priorities, and action. It sounds calm, firm, and direct. No drama, no self-pity, just statements that orient you toward execution. This is uncomfortable, but it's temporary. I don't need motivation to act. Handle what's in front of you. These aren't affirmations, they're commands. Practical self-talk doesn't argue with reality. It accepts the situation quickly and redirects energy towards solutions. Instead of spiraling into why something is unfair or frustrating, it narrows your focus to what you can control. That shift alone saves time, energy, and momentum. You stop leaking effort into emotional reactions and start investing it into progress. This is why disciplined people don't rely on feelings to decide their behavior. They rely on standards. Strong self-talk reinforces those standards when emotions try to lower them. It keeps you moving even when you don't feel confident, inspired, or ready. And over time, that consistency builds something far more valuable than motivation. Trust in yourself. Speak to yourself like a leader, not a victim. A victim-focused inner voice asks, "Why is this happening to me?" A leader-focused voice asks, "What's my responsibility here?" One looks for someone or something to blame, the other looks for the next move. And that difference, repeated daily, separates people who feel stuck from people who make progress even in hard conditions. Leaders don't deny difficulty, but they don't dramatize it either. They acknowledge reality quickly and shift into decision mode. When something goes wrong, our internal language doesn't spiral into excuses or self-attack. It becomes calm, direct, and forward-looking. "This didn't work. Adjust. This is uncomfortable. Stay steady." That tone alone changes how much power the situation has over you. Victim self-talk makes everything heavier. It amplifies setbacks and turns temporary problems into permanent identities. Leader self-talk does the opposite. It reduces problems to manageable actions. It doesn't waste energy on what should have happened. It focuses on what will happen next if you act with discipline. When you speak to yourself like a leader, you hold yourself accountable without being cruel. You expect more not because you're harsh, but because you believe you're capable. Over time, your mind starts to trust your direction. And when your mind trusts you, resistance drops, action becomes easier, and challenges feel less personal. That's when you stop reacting to life and start directing it. Language creates standards, and standards shape behavior. The words you use internally are not casual. They are instructions. When your language is vague, your standards stay low. When your language is precise, your expectations rise. Saying "I'll try" sets a flexible standard. Saying "I will" sets a non-negotiable one. Your brain responds to clarity, not intention. Every repeated phrase becomes a rule you live by. If you constantly tell yourself, "That's just how I am," you've created a standard that protects stagnation. If you tell yourself, "This is what I do now," you establish a new baseline. Standards don't require emotion, they require consistency, and language is how those standards are reinforced daily. Behavior naturally follows the level you tolerate. If your self-talk allows excuses, your actions will match. If your self-talk demands follow-through, your behavior rises to meet it. You don't need more discipline. You need fewer loopholes. Clear language closes loopholes. It removes ambiguity and forces alignment between who you say you are and how you act. Over time, this compounds. High standards expressed through strong language make certain behaviors automatic and others unacceptable. You stop negotiating with yourself because the standard has already been set. And once your standards are clear, discipline feels less like force and more like identity. Confidence is built through evidence, and self-talk directs where you collect that evidence. Confidence doesn't come from repeating nice words in the mirror or waiting until you feel ready. It comes from proof. Proof that you showed up, proof that you followed through, proof that you handled discomfort instead of avoiding it. And your self-talk is what points you toward the actions that create that proof. If your inner voice constantly emphasizes fear, past failures, or worst-case outcomes, you'll subconsciously collect evidence that you can't be trusted under pressure. You'll hesitate, delay, and avoid. Then use those moments as confirmation that you lack confidence. Not because it's true, but because that's the evidence you gathered. Strong self-talk flips that process. It directs your attention toward controllable actions instead of emotional noise. It sounds like, do the next hard thing, finish what you started, keep promises to yourself. Those statements don't create confidence in the moment, they create opportunities to earn it. Every small follow-through becomes a data point in your favor. Over time, that evidence compounds. You start to trust yourself because you've proven you're reliable. Confidence stops being something you chase and starts being something you carry. And it all traces back to the quiet instructions you give yourself before anyone else is watching. So if you want to change how you show up in your life, don't start by changing everything you do. Start by changing how you speak to yourself. For just 3 days, take control of the voice that's been running in the background. Make it deliberate, make it firm, make it honest. Not emotional, not dramatic, intentional. Talk to yourself like a leader with standards, not a victim of circumstances. Use language that demands action and builds evidence. Say what you mean and mean what you say to yourself first. Because every time you follow through, you collect proof. And that proof becomes confidence, discipline, and self-respect. 3 days won't magically fix your life, but it will wake you up. It will show you that your thoughts are not commands, they're choices. And once you realize you can choose your inner voice, you stop being controlled by it. Start today. Not when you feel ready, not when conditions are perfect. Just 3 days of intentional self-talk can change how you think, how you act, and ultimately how you live.